Thank you so much for staying tuned. You're watching Namibia Connects right here on NBC. Now, moving into our interview, proclaimed in 2011 by UNESCO Member States and adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 2012, World Radio Day is celebrated every February 13th. Today is a day to thank broadcasters for the news they deliver, the voices they amplify, and the stories they share, with the theme Radio and Artificial Intelligence. Today, artificial intelligence opens a new chapter, not just for innovation, but for deepening their bond with listeners. In studio, we are joined by Associate Programs Manager at NMT Media Foundation, Linda Bauman, who is a renowned journalist and radio pioneer. Linda, thank you so much for joining us here on Namibia Connects.
Thank you very much for having us.
Excellent. So given that the 2026 theme is Radio and Artificial Intelligence, how is NMT Media Foundation planning to help Namibian radio stations, especially community stations, navigate the opportunities and threats of AI in their newsrooms?
As a foundation, our role is to do advocacy within the media fraternity. And it is a priority for us to ensure that skills and knowledge building is a continuous realm of growth within the fraternity of journalism and media. So as an organization, we've continued advancing training with radio stations, but also making sure that they understand that we don't lose the ethics and principles and the integrity of the work that we deliver to our people.
Now, are there plans to organize workshops or training sessions to help broadcasters with AI-driven tools like automatic transcription, translation, or content creation, use of AI-generated, or rather, pardon me, or content creation as recommended by the UNESCO for 2026?
Indeed, that's the primary element of the programming work that we do. Over the past year, we have diversified our approach in delivering training and capacity within the radio stations, and also affirming the integration of AI responsibly. We have partnered and trained students at NAST, and also through that we also had radio stations, including people from your teams, who were part of the AI training and how to make sure they use it in a strategic way, but also to their own benefit and the institutional benefit. More so also, we also do regional training hubs that also affirms AI and the usage of AI, and also how to amplify and strengthen institutions. And that leads to really radio stations affirming the importance of developing policy frameworks for AI as they move from the training of understanding the importance of it.
How will the NMT assist local radio stations in increasing ethical policies regarding the use of AI-generated voices to maintain listeners' trust?
NMT as an institution, NMT Media Foundation as an institution has been very proactive and also diversifying its approach and ensuring that institutions are able to amplify the importance of policy frameworks. People shouldn't be looking at AI as a threat, but as an amplified inclusion that would be able to assist the operations of the institution. And that is what one primary element that we bring across to ensure entities are able to navigate around developing policy. Our role there is to make sure that there is, besides training the journalist, the reporter, the presenter on the usage of AI, that links to the higher element of managers and editors and station managers, who would also be affirmed in dialogue around the importance of shaping their policy framework and also affirming that their staff are able to amplify the usage and not the misuse, because we also advance the importance and the discussion around mis and disinformation that also comes from AI. So there are benefits, but there are also the consciousness where people need to be assertive in the way they engage when it comes to the usage of AI. So policy framework in every institution is crucial, and that is why you'll also see nationally that the country is talking about AI in terms of legislating it also.
So AI is good, but it still needs human touch.
Always. And what we're talking about radio. So in radio, you need that human touch. English, you can get away with it because you can automate and you can play around it. But we have native languages. You can't automate that. You need the real person talking to the people. And that connection can never be taken away by anybody, because a human touch has a different feel, and we know what radio has done and the transformation it has done in our lives. AI is just an addition to amplify what we already have by making sure we deliver a strategic approach, but also it improves the operations in terms of algorithm, analytics, but also how to improve business at the end of the day.
Now, how can we ensure that the discussions around AI does not overlook the importance of local human-driven content, particularly for rural Namibian communities?
It's a very deep conversation, and I think it's a conversation that Namibia is still getting to in terms of really the utilization of AI in compulating it to our communities. But right now in our country, we still have a very strong emphasis of human touch in our radio stations, and I think that is what makes Namibian radio stations unique and amplified, but also what plays a big role, like you're asking about local groups. There's no way you can affirm AI in a local language. That person who's speaking there, the accent is not going to speak to us. Somebody is able to pick it up very fast. And we also say that communities must be able to be assertive. It's not just radio stations that needs to be trained and capacitated on how AI is used on radio, but also for them to be able to know and detect when AI is amplified. You know, back in the days, we listened to radio until 2 a.m. Now, you hardly get a presenter that is keeping you awake until at 2 a.m. It is a playlist that goes, and sometimes there are interludes of people saying. Back in the days, we would put interludes in the sense of a live voice. But now they're using it very differently, and that says that says a lot about how technology is taking over. But still, radio stations are maintaining that emphasis of community dialogue with a human touch and face to it.
But how can we maintain that?
It can be maintained if institutions have policy frameworks about the usage of AI, so that staff members are able to know you can use AI to improve what your idea is, not for AI to replace. Because I know a lot of people use AI and they say, please provide me with, how do you speak to a computer and say, please? It's not a human interaction. You instruct. And we are also the ones that create libraries in AI, because AI feeds from what we are feeding it. So there's that intersectional relations that people need to understand how AI plays, and that we need to look at AI as a robot, that is a machinery with information, but also a machinery that I can dictate what I want out of it to improve my programming at the end of the day.
What initiatives can we implement to encourage radio stations to encourage their listeners on their feelings about AI in radio?
AI has a privilege of being able to align us to the actual programming that we've been doing. One, we've been doing call-in sessions, call-in shows. Those call-in shows is a form of getting listeners to speak. Then there is an element of doing polls where people have their opinions. So you're able to use all of those elements to be able to get the sense of interaction, but also the sense of urgency of the issues that people require. So in that alignment, it's crucial for us to really affirm that communities participate in this spacing and that communities are able to speak. Because if AI takes over, then our voices are gone at home if our drums are not picked up in a week. What's always the closest thing for you to raise your issue? Radio. It's a call-in show and I'm saying my issue. So at the end of the day, those traditional practices that we've been doing on radio can just be amplified to use AI as a form of really strengthening how we need to put out our programming.
Now, what opportunities will be available for local broadcasters to showcase their innovations during the February 13th, today, 2026 celebrations?
I must say there's a lot happening, but I also need to acknowledge the hard work that the ministry has been putting in. This year we are celebrating in Kavango East. That's where World Radio Day is nationally celebrated. But there's also a lot of activities that are happening around because stations and media houses and also media advocacy institutions are advancing the visibility of it. So at the national event in Kavango West, there is multi-sectoral partners that are participating, showcasing their work. There's interactions with school children around what AI is, community engagement, road shows, and also trainings that are taking place. So that's a packed plan that the ministry of information and communications and technology have put together for the country, and those are the activities that we are participating in, but notwithstanding that there's also an online aggressive campaign. So from our side, we are streaming and acknowledging old pioneers of radio who are now retired or who are in a different profession, because they have a sense of what life is today and what life was then. So those are also part of the activity. So every institution carries the merit to display and reach the target groups that they intend to reach through making sure that World Radio Day is well known, celebrated, commemorated, and acknowledged to improve and also strengthen.
Do you think that the education system should allow schools to be taught on AI?
Technology is something we can't run away from. Our kids are fabbing the whole time on our phones. That's already an introduction to technology. AI is an extended part of it, and I think it's very important. It's like civic education. It must start at primary school. Technology should not be starting at high school, at primary school, because our kids are much faster than you and I compared to our years and what they are doing right now. So I think it's a crucial element of education that needs to be advanced. Radio has also played that role in educating. So we should continue talking about AI on radio and having people interact on those issues. But I'm sure our country is prioritizing technology as a big element of growth and development.
Does, or rather, what opportunities, if I may put it, what opportunities do you think, maybe looking at the future, what are some of the things that we can create to make sure that when it comes to radio, you know, that human touch is not completely removed? What can we do?
I think where we find ourselves, there's no way that radio can remove its human touch. That's the uniqueness of living in a country with a multi-diverse cultural positioning. It's easy to replace with English because AI is English, and obviously multilingual in terms of other languages. But I doubt that radio stations would cut that personal touch, because that personal touch is what holds you and I connected to a station. So I think the practice that is happening right now should continue, but strengthened with technology. I doubt that Namibia is going to become an automated radios. One thing I'm hungry for, to be honest, on this radio day that I'm still appealing for years, is talk radio in Namibia. You can switch on the radio in the morning at 5:30, it's just music. Why are we having music? We need a station that constantly talks about the issues in order for us to be stimulated. Music can be an interlude, but what is it that we're trying to bring across as radio stations? What's the message? But obviously also commercial and community radio stations are also different in terms of their delivery. But for me, it's that hunger in this country. We don't have a 24-hour talk radio station. And that is something that can be improved for us to be able to know that there is a station that consistently have talk, which means that the life element lives, because there is that intersectional relations on the issue, and me being at home and you being in the studio.
Does NMT plan to facilitate partnerships between Namibian radio stations and international counterparts for knowledge exchange in line with the 2026 goals?
We are already doing it, and that is why our programming and trainings that we've been doing in building capacity and skills is a primary source of making sure that intersectional relations and partnerships and diverse stakeholders are brought around the table, but also if we do not have the capacity, we're able to connect them. And that is why our journalism hub plays that critical role in ensuring that our Namibians, when we do our regional trainings, that they're able to connect to other Africans, but also more so connect globally with other global persons in journalism and media.
As we're celebrating the day, how is your foundation collaborating with the MICT and NBC to celebrate this day?
What we're doing is amplifying the actual day with different messaging. We've also approached members of your staff to be able to give a message for this day and what it means. With MICT, we've ensured that we participate in a number of their engagements and solidified our engagement towards the output of what is being put out today on this big day. So for us, it's a continuous establishment of relationships, strengthening of those relationships, but also making sure that conversations like this continue to build that relationship between the foundation and also the different stakeholders. So it is a priority. There's no way that the NMT Media Foundation operates in isolation. Our work is to serve the media and communications fraternity to make sure that we play that advocacy role of dialogue and have stakeholders make those multi-sectoral decisions that would work nationally in our country.
What is the long-term goal of the NMT Media Foundation in preparing the Namibian media landscape for the AI-driven future?
As we are looking at it, there is obviously there's a legislative process that the MICT has also been engaging to look at how AI can be amplified. But for us, advocacy and policy reform around this issue remains a priority. That's the first element around policy and legal reform. Then the second element that we're looking at capacity building, which is, like I said earlier, it's about skills and knowledge building. This initially is dealing with communities, dealing with stakeholders, and making sure that people are able to be skilled and knowledgeable to be able to utilize AI, to integrate AI, and to affirm AI within the work that they're doing. And then lastly, the element of ensuring that we do community dialogues to affirm the amplification and visibility around AI, to make sure that communities are able to understand, but also use it for themselves in terms of their own lives and the success of their own lives. Therefore, for us as a foundation, we remain committed to the work that we do, but also to the advocacy of reform when it comes to media and communications, but more so the topic of today, which is radio and AI.
Perhaps for radio lovers, because I've met quite a lot of people that would tell me, well, I prefer radio, and I would ask why. They just feel it's very much more engaging than a television set. Well, that's the opinion. But what message would you love on this day for radio listeners to hear?
I think what is crucial is that for all our listeners, radio remains paramount in our lives. There's no way that we're able to live without radio, because that human touch that comes with it tells us about the realities that we're experiencing. Radio gives us the opportunity to engage on our issues with other people that we can't see. So at the end of the day, my message is, let's support radio stations. Let's continue to call them out if need be to improve the programming, but more so, let's be committed to ensuring that stations receive the support and that we're able to also advertise on those places in order to ensure that they are able to be sustainable in the operations as they move ahead.
Lastly, what resources like the RedTech Multilingual Media Kit have been adopted for local use?
What? Sorry.
Resources are being adopted for local media use?
There's a number of, there's a UNESCO training tool that is currently one of the main ones. It's also being currently implemented and launched in Kavonga East in terms of making sure that Namibians can be able to utilize that. We also have a very strong partner, DW. They are our AI training partner that delivers that aspect. So for us, there's a number of tools that are currently being utilized in diverse approaches, because the methodologies are unique, but more so also for us as an institution, we are also looking at solidifying our curriculum that would be Namibianized, and also that will speak to how Namibians can utilize this as a personal handbook.
I want to be fair, and perhaps just, is there something that you'd like to add, perhaps, that you feel is very important when it comes to radio, AI, and the future?
The future is bright with AI, of course, but also AI comes with its limitations. And I think many of us are taking AI not that serious, because it's like it feeds you everything. But what we hardly do as people is verify the information, because AI does make mistakes. So the key thing for me in the future would be, how do we legislate or reform processes within our institutions to make sure that AI is adopted, but also responsibly, that people are able to understand mis and disinformation and deep fakes also that comes within AI, and more so also how to also know the different types of AI tools that are existing, because everybody's on a ChatGPT type of thing. But at the end of the day, there are a number of different AI tools that can show you a number of deep a strategic way of creating a narrative. So I think my message would always be diversify your approach on AI usage, take responsibility in it. People are easily able to detect when you have used AI, and that detection could actually compromise your individuality and deliverance of work.